that's the thing, is that both of them were left open by BLG because they're like, we have one ban, we can't ban both, let's leave them both open so we can trade. If LRA have a preference, sure, but they could just leave it and then trade off after that. I feel like they have the flexibility in that regard. They are going to commit to the HEcarim though. They're happy with how Leyan performed in that game 1. Obviously, not the most early pressure jungler, but post 6 ramps up a lot, and he had a fantastic game on it.
He really, really did. It was a fantastic display, and again, able to get up to that level 6, and was able to kind of put BLG off kilter with some of the, the kind of tempo plays he was making with it. And now we see where BLG want to take the rest of their draft. It looks like they don't want the Lee Sin either. They're just going to go ahead and say, look, we want the Volbiear. Again, WeiWei, MVP in Game 3, looked fantastic on it and really showed the power it can bring to a comp.
Yeah, so what I'm wondering here is, are they going to lock in an AD carry if they have a priority for it, or are they going to take something else that they prefer? I feel like if you don't take an AD carry here, you kind of forced to on that 3rd pick, which means sometimes you can't react as well to what Rare Adam takes. So that's why I kind of like taking the AD carry here. It gives you a lot of flexibility for that 3rd pick on red side. They're going to take the Jinx, so despite the fact that iBoy, I feel like he's been outmatched by Doggo when he had the Aphelios, they still feel like they want to go for this matchup. And here's a prime example where RA picked the Jayce. If BLG hadn't taken the AD carry, they'd be in a bit of a pickle here. But they don't have 2 champions to answer, right? So do you want to answer the Jayce and give a good matchup to breathe? Or do you want to pick a mid lane pick, something like the Vex can do well into the Ahri for FoFo?
Or do you want to just go for your support and say, look, we don't care because you can't ban out both lanes. You cannot get the advantages there. So we will see BLG maybe looking towards that, but they are hovering towards a couple of different options. I will say the Tahm Kench is probably the smarter option. Chris will get that locked in for himself. And now we will start to see a couple of bans. I would be very surprised to see the Aphelios survive the next few bans.
Yeah, I feel like Aphelios, shit, Kaisa even could actually be a decent ban here, right? We've seen some Kaisa AD carry. iBoy, for some reason, was playing like AD carry build Kaisa, which whatever, I don't think it's play. But like here, with the Jayce poke as well, it could be really threatening. But instead, they're looking for support picks, so the Recalm we saw into the Tahm Kench last game, really strong, obviously, because you can pop that quickness. You can use it on the Tahm when he gobbles his AD carry, and then it's still sometimes even left up when the AD carry comes out to CC them. For RA, maybe I would probably look towards mid. I think having a strong mid matchup is really important. Vex is often picked as something that's good into RA. You could even look towards something like the Syndra as well. Azir is actually what we've seen FoFo pick into the Ahri. So all these things that make sense to me. They actually go for the Akali away from Breathe. So not wanting to necessarily have something that can get on top of the Jayce and provide that threat.
Yeah, kind of, again, give Cube something that can work well in a team fight and work well in the lane. The Aphelios finally gets banned away by BLG as Rare Adam now start to see what their final ban was. I would like to see the Vex maybe banned away just to take that away, but no, they should go for the Sylas. Yeah, I can see that being a very powerful pick considering the ultimates available. Yeah,
HEcarim is insane with Sylas and Ahri. He's picked a lot on Ahri because it's a good matchup, right? She doesn't have the damage to kill him, and he'll just keep sustaining the longer fights with the W, and then on top of that, you steal Ahri's ult, and suddenly you've given him ability to a close-range skirmisher. Outstanding. Now, we have to see if they opt to prioritize top or mid in this situation. Thing is, both top and mid have been secured for Rare Adam, so there's no pressure in sort of denying those. But they go for the Gragas, which kind of makes me think it'll be something like the Azir, right? Keep the enemy team at bay with that disengage.
Very standard front to back team.
Yeah, very standard front to back, and you need damage as well to sync with your comp because you have a tank top laner and a jungler who's not going to hold up on damage. We see our Rage toying with things. I actually really think the Kaisa is exceptional. You have a dive composition, and if you do go the AP build or the hybrid build, your W's with the Jayce Shock Blast, that's actually so good into a composition for BLG that is front to back.
Yeah.
Because you just fire from a distance and just keep maintaining that. Yeah,
you just get down the HP of these massive uber tanks that are going to be the Tahm Kench, the Gragas, and the Volbiear. You have got the Nautilus, which has tried and tested, been one of the most fantastic duos with that Kaisa in the laning phase. It always seems to just work very well, and it's just a good combination. Honestly, what Rare Adam are going with, I like what they've built up for themselves now that on the blue side, they've got themselves a good dive composition with plenty of pokes. Not only can they just get these health bars down, they can also follow in on it should they get the right target.
Yeah, I feel like in this situation, as much as the Azir feels like something FoFo would want into the Ahri, I feel like it's not really going to work because when Azir struggles against poke massively.
Yes.
A lot of the picks are good into mid lane with poke picks, so I think you need something that contests the mid jungle 2v2 a bit better, and also something like the Zoe means that you can at least match pound for pound. If you do land a Sleepy Trouble Bubble when iBoy and Cube are trying to fire out their poke, that potentially sets up your team to get in position to engage. So I think it's a good adaptation that they didn't go for the Azir, but ultimately I love RA's composition here. And if they can sort of avoid getting run over by the Volbiear, I feel like they just curve really well into a strong mid game and scale up effectively.
Yeah, they've got so many available tools to them. They've got poke, they've got good dive, they've also got pretty decent pick potential in skirmishing.
Please, iBoy, don't go the AD carry build.
Yeah, I was gonna say they need to. I think with the Jayce, I feel like the Kaisa makes so much sense to go the poke. Like it just makes sense.
I feel like there's I'd say there's 3 categories I'd put them in. There's the I am an AD carry, as in I build like crit items and stuff like that. On the other side, there's that I am a poke champ. I build like Sork shoes, I build Ludens, Manamune, I don't build a Dirk or anything. And then there's the middle ground, which I feel like iBoy probably, if I'd expect him to go that if he's just sort of going for some poke. It does have a lot of poke because you get the W evolve, and that's like Nash's Tooth, Dirk. You get all 3 evolves. That's probably my favorite build right now because I think you're still a threat at close range, but you still have the resets and the long range W. So I hope he goes for that one. We'll wait and see how it pans out. But I think because you're still going to be able to dive in with your team if you go the hybrid build, but the poke from a distance is going to be problematic because one of the things is that BLG, they can definitely get creative with the Gragas, but, RA have a lot more goal tools on their side, in my opinion. Like, they have the Ahri, the Nautilus, the HEcarim, and the Kaisa. So they can kind of just poke until you're low, and then they go, okay, now is time. They're low enough that an Ahri with 1 charm can just blow them up, and it'll just play out beautifully.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. We are jumping on to the Rift. This is Game 4. 2-1 is the score to BLG. Rare Adam fighting for their lives in the playoffs. Remember, it is single elimination. You lose this best of 5, your spring season is done. BLG putting themselves in a great position here. This is 8th versus 9th in our standings, and that's what makes it so important. The fact that it can be so close is so tantalizing for the rest of the matchups going forward.
And as you said it earlier, it's a long way to double elimination. You just can't drop a series till them or you're out. And Chris is actually in big trouble. Yeah,
Chris is going to take a lot of damage here. He might actually need a reset here before he comes back. Yep, so...
Like, he does, but it does mean he's going to be late to lane, right?
He'll be a little bit late, so level 2 advantage should go over to the side of RA.
What I'd like to see is you can go in front of the wave, you can catch it, and you can make a sort of push towards you. And ideally, you want to deny a minion, because if you deny 1 melee minion, it means you then need an extra 2 casters on the next wave to hit level 2. And it just means there's no chance of getting a level 2 advantage. But it looks like the actual plan is to give Leyan a leash. So unfortunately, they won't really be able to capitalize at all on the fact that they chunked him out. So it was literally meaningless.
Yeah. We just hyped up a lot of stuff there for no real reason. And then similar to the top side there, we saw Cube going in absolutely crazy onto Breathe. But Breathe's on a Gragas. His passive means that he does not care about the early poke. You need to burst him out, otherwise it just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things with the Gragas, why he really came to the meta, is the fact that Tier is now this 400 gold item. You can pick it up. Obviously, like, once you've stacked it, it is very valuable to finish it off. But the main thing is it just gives you a lot of mana in the laning phase. And then the more mana you have, the more health you have because of your passive. Just help you sustain through those trickier lanes like a Jayce who should be harassing you.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with the new builds as well, you got the Thimblewinter that came in. So you have got a much better build path. You don't have to go towards Seraphs anymore. So a lot of quality of life buffs came in for something like a Gragas top. And, before they even came in, LPL have always played towards the Gragas top. Remember Xiaohu when he was in top lane for RNG last year became a staple of just mitigating some of these very aggressive early laners like the Jayce or even the Irelia like we saw last year.
Yeah, and it's going to be pretty powerful when it comes to team fights. Things like iBoy diving in, Strive diving in, the belly boot can obviously interrupt them. You also, if you find the right angle, can provide some engage. One thing I'm kind of concerned on, though, is in terms of damage for the side of BLG, right, you are really reliant on Doggo. So I would actually like to see attention from them onto this bot side from BLG, because if Doggo falls behind, you're going to struggle. And then I'm going to realize, even if he's fed, you need to play things well, because you have the Tahm Kench as a safety tool, don't get me wrong, Gragas is good disengage. But there is so many things on the side of RA that's going to make your life difficult. And the thing is, when you're in Tahm Kench's belly, you're... Oh, no.
They catch him and they kill him. That was just straight up mispositioning from Doggo, and he gets punished.
Yeah, just as I'm highlighting, you want Doggo to be strong, he makes a bit of a fumble and ends up giving over first blood to iBoy. Absolute disaster. And as I'm saying, it's like when it comes to team fights, even if you're strong as Doggo, if you're inside of Tahm Kench's belly, you're not doing damage. And the thing is, you don't have that safety tool yet. I mean, what? The minion dies before the tower hit even comes. Why are you walking that far forwards? Like, just a bad click. No reason to be there.
It's a bad right click as Now WeiWei saying, look, we might have to try and make something happen here in this bot side. They will try and just get Chris to get a little bit of disengage here, but he will go forward, and iBoy will flash away. I don't think they can go for this, though, because Leyan's coming, and Strive is TP down as well. They're going to jump down onto WeiWei and Chris. They're going to look to try and turn this one around. Chris flashes away, but he gets hooked right back in as WeiWei looks to try and trade it with the shield. He'll get a 1-for-1, and honestly, that's all he could do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, considering how that played out, WeiWei is happy that he got a 1-for-1, but Ahri quick to react and shut that one down. A positive is that Doggo survives, so he's going to be able to pick up this wave, and in return, FoFo manages to push the wave in the tower and deny some from RA. So despite everything, it's not as disastrous as it could have been for BLG, but still, I love that RA are answering this. I love that we see the HEcarim active before level 6 and using the fact that you have Ghost and so much movement speed to get in position and respond quickly.
Very, very nicely done there by Ahri. Good reactions there. And like I said, WeiWei going under the tower is all he could have really done. Because this is started off by BLG.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I feel like iBoy could have flashed sooner. If you flash that initial burst, you end up much healthier. It doesn't really change much because WeiWei was already in, like, he's already committed. It's not like you flashing early means your team can't respond. But then here as well, you know, they decide to come out of Tahm Kench, but he's already dead, and it kind of just leaves iBoy here. I think another thing is he could have walked upwards.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get hit by the E, no way that WeiWei kills him. So I think iBoy kind of misplayed that a bit mechanically, but ultimately, RA as a team had the macro answer.
And the big thing is, yes, you do have 2 kills onto iBoy. It's 20 CS down because that entire wave was pushed into Doggo. So despite Doggo's early blunder, shall we say, and you know, and everything that's gone wrong in that bot side for BLG, it's still an incredibly significant advantage.
But I do have some good news. We're seeing the tier, right? He's not going like the Kraken Slayer.
Oh, thank you.
Kraken Slayer, Phantom Dancer. I would be, and a lot of people will be watching this and be like, what? Why would you ever go that build? Well, iBoy was, so.
iBoy does. iBoy does, in fact, go for those particular builds. And we will see FoFo having a bit more of an advantage in mid lane as well. Of course, Strive did TP towards that bot side, so level 6 does get hit by FoFo before it does get hit by the Ahri. So you are going to have pressure in this bot lane, you're going to have pressure in the mid lane. That is going to equal early Drake here for the side of BLG. Or will it, as you do have Leyan coming in here. They're going to try to slow him down before he can get on top of it. He won't get the smite down in time. And now Yuyanjia uses his hook. The traps go down. He's forced to flash over the side. They're going to try and just keep away from this one here. But you don't have the early damage to deal with this. And RA, we were just praising you, my dudes. Why are you fighting that?
I mean, they just literally gave them 2 free kills. I don't really have anything else to add to that. There's no reason to go there.
You need to add flavor.
Okay, here's my flavor. Don't do that. That was dumb. There is my flavor.
See, you like a bit of spice.
Yeah, it's just like I don't see what they're hoping to achieve. The Dragon's already got. Like I understood, they move forwards to try and contest it. Oh, nah, iBoy's dead.
Yep, iBoy is going to die. No flash. Nowhere to go, and that's going to be Doggo flashing forward. There's the kill going over. Strive is actually going to use the Spirit Rush to try and get in position. This is an opportunity here to take out Doggo as they try and just keep Crisp alive, but they've actually just baited them all in, and that should be 2 kills going over to the side of RA. Nicely done. They'll even donate that one over to Strive, and honestly, that's a good response.
Yeah, I feel like the thing is, we see RA going for these proactive plays where I'm like, this is smart, this is good, this is positive. And then they just die randomly for no reason. And it's like, the game is even because of that. But now BLG set up a play.
They're going to go to the Gabali Bop in. He has got the explosive cast as well. They're going to try and get the flash out of him, and it's easy as you like. No reason for Cube to be there. And again, this is, I feel like I'm a parrot just re-saying the same phrases over and over again. It's just disrespect.
But at least that one was a good proactive play from BLG, right?
Yes.
It wasn't RA just making a mistake. What I am critical of is why did he flash? There's no way you're flashing out of that situation.
iBoy, you're not going to get out of this one unless FoFo misses out on the trouble bubble, which he does. They will have a stun available in a second, but Leyan plays bodyguard. They will keep him safe for now, but iBoy, oh, it's very reminiscent of how he used to play in the regular split.
Yeah, he needs to get back into his lane and pick up this wave. But yeah, I feel like the play, the flash before the cast from Cube is just never going to amount to anything. And now they will get there late. They lose a plate as well. Is able to pick up that minion, but it just feels RA have good ideas, but they also just keep making these mistakes. I still think their composition holds up pretty well in the late stages. The fact that Doggo can have such a massive mistake early and then be this strong is pretty rough going for RA, right? He's up in gold compared to iBoy, despite the fact he flubbed that first blood.
Yeah, flubbed the first blood. He's 20 CS up ahead now. It will be mitigated a little bit, so maybe down to about 15 once this fight When this wave does crash, you've got top lane advantages. That's up by about 400 gold. Jungle's up by 300. It's about equal, actually a little bit of advantage here for Strive in the mid lane, but he is down in terms of levels because of the amount of roams he's had to do to cover his bot lane.
Yeah, so, you know, BLG in a pretty good spot. And I think particularly having sort of control, vision control, and being set up an objective is going to be so important in this game. Because things like the Zoe, just his trouble bubbles, so hard to deal with when you're going into an area you don't have control of, we don't have vision. On the other side as well, I mean, vision advantage is so important for poke champions because it's so hard to dodge things like a Jayce Shock Blast when you don't have vision of it coming. And the reason that's instrumental is because it's a long cooldown. And, you know, the Kaisa W, if you miss it, is a long cooldown, so...
Yeah, 8 or 9 seconds.
Exactly, and they can use that window, right, to, you know, engage or finish a dragon off while you're waiting for that to be back up. And it can make such a huge difference, so... Do you see the Man Immune picked up for iBoy to get things stacking quickly? And it looks like he's not going to go for the Dirk. Now, just to go through, like, some numbers for you, you don't need the Dirk to get Q Evolve. You just need Mana Immune as an AD item, and then the extra mana you get from building, you know, like, I mean, you will just get it eventually over the course of the game. People normally go Dirk for, like, an early Q Evolve, right?
And then you sell it later when you want to
Yeah, you sell it later if you want to go for a more heavy AP build, because, I mean, Collector's okay. Some people do finish Collector. I don't rate it, especially if you're going for the poke build.
Rabadon's probably better.
Yeah, so he is kind of, by here, said, I don't want the early power. I want to invest into being as relevant as I can as soon as possible, right, in terms of hitting the big spikes rather than committing to a smaller spike now.
Well, Breed thinks he's a pretty safe man right now on this top side. Strive can't really wait that too much longer, as Chris is going to probably have the flash over this wall. Yes, he is, and that's going to be the summoner down now for the Tahm. Kench. No, nothing burnt there from the side of RA. Just, again, good punish on a bit of an overextension. And we are starting to see that a bit more now. Things are calming down. I feel like both teams are getting to a point where they're kind of saying, okay, we can't just keep giving up these fights. We can't keep giving up these free kills. We're only 11 minutes into the games. We've had 10 kills across the board.
That's been pretty fast-paced, honestly. And I feel like both teams have been, you know, compared to, especially how I viewed BLG coming into this, they've been understanding that they have to make things happen. They can't just sit back now. Chris goes for a very aggressive play, and he's just going to get caught out.
Yep, he's going to get caught out. He's going to go see Yuyanjia trying to run away, but there's the onslaught of shadows. They're going to use the ultimate as well from the iBoy Kaisa, but it's not quite enough to take down Crisp, who gets himself away. iBoy flashes and heals. They land the charm on the Doggo, but this Ahri doesn't have a lot of damage, and the resets are coming in. Doggo and FoFo, the carries trying to burn this team down as RA run for their lives. FoFo is still hunting for blood, but he holds himself just a little bit, and that's 2 kills over to BLG.
And that's the thing, this Kaisa's behind, and honestly, I'm just going to say on this item, you're kind of useless compared to the Jinx, just a Kraken Slayer. They didn't have the damage to finish off Crisp, and this is how it ends up happening. So despite the fact that Crisp, remember, no flash was burned earlier, ends up overstepping, and I know a Tahm Kench is tanky, but they commit so much onto him, and he still doesn't die. I think it's the critical thing here. I also think Leyan made a mistake. He could have ulted over the traps, and then could have dashed back in. Yeah, I just feel like that was a little bit of a lack of committal that ended up backfiring, but also the fact that Chris doesn't die makes such a difference. iBoy just doesn't really do that much damage at the moment.
And iBoy doesn't do that damage, but not even Strive. Strive was actually just playing that entire fight with Merc Treads, but now Chris, he's still very tanky. The Gragas and FoFo will be able to kind of jump in on top of this, and that's going to be Leyan going down. Oh, RA, it's a disaster, but this is the hard reloading composition that we talked about. It doesn't matter if they're ahead or behind, they will fully commit, and now Doggo finds Cube. Cube jumps on top of them to try and disengage, and with that phase rush, should be able to keep him out safe to safety, not safe to selfie. But Strive goes in, gets himself, that's some burst damage going in as Crisp is cursed to fall. And I will collect myself and have some water while you break down what the hell just happened.
I think the whole game is kind of falling apart, and then Strive is just like this shining beacon for RA. It feels like the plays on the bot side that went wrong, Strive is there to clean up. The plays on the top side that went wrong, Strive is there to make them come to fruition. He is really doing his best to stay in playoffs right now, in this series in particular. The rest of his team, doing some, having some questionable moments now.
Oh, they're going to go for it, but there's WeiWei using the ultimate. He's trying to jump on the cube. The phase rush not quite there just yet. The red buff of Flash W. WeiWei with a little bit of disrespect, knowing just how damn strong he is.
Yeah.
And RA lose another kill on the top side.
I too love getting 1v2'd by a jungler with just a tank item in his inventory. That definitely feels okay. And WeiWei is just... And again, this is kind of why there's been such a priority in the Volbiear. He has the early momentum, and we didn't really see it in that game 1 or that game 2, but it is now really starting to show up. And the thing is, right, that there is a definite spike for RA. A point of the game where I'm like, I feel pretty confident for them, but they're just forcing so hard before then. It means they're in a really rough position because they're going to be so far behind when they get to those spikes, right? They're already 2,000 gold down. WeiWei super strong, and we're going to get a replay. I mean, it's just kind of nuts. Full HP Q, by the way, and Yuyanjia's there as well, and he just basically bursts him out. It's a really nice ult as well to dodge away from the Q from Yuyanjia. I don't know if it's intentional, but either way, just chomps him.
Yeah, just eats him, and that's the end of it. Nice, tasty meal for the 4, 1, and 3 Volbiear. And again, we're seeing a fantastic, you know, you got your priority. Leyan was given every single jungler apart from Viego, which his team, you know, banned away. So it was like, right, go pick something, go for it. We don't care what you end up getting because the Volbiear is just stronger for us in this particular situation.
And the problem as well is that Leyan's gone, you know, I said this before, this Conqueror build with Divine Sundra. And, you know, it makes sense here because you're playing against, you know, 3 tanky champions. But the problem is this build kind of relies on you being at least even or ahead because it's more expensive, right? Whereas WeiWei is obviously ahead, but he's going like the tank build. Like HEcarim can go this as well. Tahm tank and a Deadman. It's cheap as chips, and you're still going to be bulky. This build for the end isn't really going to work that well if you end up behind, which he pretty significantly is at the moment. Level 9, he's the same level as the AD carries at the moment.
Yeah, he is pretty damn big. Another Rift Herald's going to be taken as well. That's going to be RA losing out to another objective. A minute 30, I should say, until the next dragon spawns. It is a Hex Soul, so you do have some Hex gameplay to come in. They are going to try and commit fully onto Breed, though, as Leyan is there. They're going to use the Onslaught of Shadows. The Charm will land. Again, it is Strive trying to just drag RA back in, but even him with this Everfrost build does not have the damage to bring down the Gragas.
It's not quite enough. The Gragas spike going, yeah, the Squishier build still tanky enough to withstand their engage Flash. And now BLG, they just commit down and they're going to look for a second tower here. Just should be able to get it quite easily, and Injection just to be careful on that one. There will be a trade-off on the other side, but RA, yeah, they're winning across the board here.
Yeah, and again, this is why you pick something like the Gragas, the disengage with the ultimate, the tank, just the kind of, you know, inherent tankiness you get with your passive, with your W on the Drunken Rage as well. It's so hard to punish this pick unless you really do catch him out. So we're looking at a 3,500 gold lead here for BLG as we got 30 seconds till that dragon spawns. And even if BLG decided they don't want to fight for this, it doesn't matter. You've got 2 dragons in the bank. You're not really caring about this first dragon for RA.
The problem is, I feel like on this one, RA can't contest this dragon, right? They have spikes they're waiting for, and they're just not anywhere near. Actually, I say that. They have to finish the Ludens.
I think, yep, he's dead. Nothing he can do. Oh, he'll flash away, but the Hex Gate means that WeiWei finds himself all the way over on the side with Leyan. You can see Cube trying to see if he can do something here to help out Yuyanjia. They might try and turn this one around. There's going to be the mitigation with the Glacial Shroud. Cube will flash away. They will land the Trouble Bubble as it gets the trap down as Yuyanjia tries to just keep himself alive. Flash in, Cube almost being taken down by WeiWei. They'll get a Q. Good Everfrost here from Strive to just stop the onslaught of BLG. But it is RA still coming out, not looking the favorable, and it's just going to take time. As you said, they need items, they need gold.
Yeah, I think the big thing when I look at Ludens is finished for iBoy. That's pretty big because you've got the W evolve, so you can spam that. Actually, I'm not even sure. No, I don't think he has it yet.
Oh, that's a paddle star and a half, and that means that the potential TP player thought they were going to maybe put the Jayce up in the backhand side and maybe look to try and make that one work for themselves, but the Trouble Bubble lands into Leyan. They weren't quite in position to try and take him out. He'll end up TPing up towards that top side. It will be Cube. And they should be able to... Nope, never mind. TP coming out here from Breed. Keeps that tower very healthy and alive. And yeah, it's sole point for BLG. BLG now at a fantastic point where this is just, you know, it's just hard for RA. I don't think there's a lot of options available to them. They just need time.
Yeah, so I'll go back to my spikes. So you need 100 AP for the W evolve. You didn't quite have with just the Ludens, right? He doesn't have the Mana Mune stacked. Cube doesn't have his Mana Mune stacked. that's the point where you're spiking, and I'm like, okay, they're really relevant, they can contest this, even with a gold deficit. The problem is they keep getting into these fights before then, and also BLG have stacked those dragons rapidly. They're on 3 already.
Crisp. Oh, he's fine.
Yuyanjia, you're gonna die.
Yeah, he's gonna walk away. WeiWei now walking up and saying, hey, how's it going, guys? It's not just the Tahm Kench, it's everybody else here. Leyan here as well, as FoFo finally joins the party. Those Hex gates will just set up for some pretty interesting plays, as we see that iBoy does not want anything to do with this. Should have enough there for an amplifying tone or a blasting one to get himself up to that AP threshold and get that evolve onto his W. And that should be just it now. So we come back in. We're coming up to 20 minutes into the game. 4,000, 3,500 gold lead, but 3 dragons importantly for BLG. You are going to have the big spikes like you mentioned on the Mermanas for RA very, very soon. And just, again, like you said, you just have to wait just to calm down and just get those spikes before they really start to look for a fight.
The problem is, they'll get those spikes, and they'll be ready to fight for this next dragon. But it's Soul, okay? If they botch this, things are just going to be out of control, right? Things will get really rough, and the fact they have this gold deficit, Zoe is super strong, FoFo, you know, should be able to reset and get Soak Shoes probably on his next back, and that's when he's in one-shot mode. The Jinx as well, Doggo just picked up a Hex Drink, but also has those 2 items. It is scary, and when it comes down to that, you know, you have one fight that can dictate the game, dictate the rest of your playoff run, because if they lose this game, they are just out. That is their season done. And it kind of relies on them navigating this one. Manamune stacking, when those are fully completed, that's when they've got to be worried for the other side, and they can rely on that poke for the plays.
There they go, they're going to draw on the Everfrost and the Charm, but there's the explosive cast. Breed not quite able to get the belly buff off. His Cube maybe going to try and just jump on top of him. They will get the tower, and they will get him down, and they'll get himself into the Tahm Kench. So, you get a couple of different summoners. I like the idea coming out here from RA, and with basically all of their outer towers down anyway, they don't really lose anything.
Yeah, they got an objective bounty, so that's pretty nice, right? And banning summoners is really good when, like, you trade ults, but Strive's ult's going to be up, Yuyanjia's ult's going to be up for the dragon fight, whereas Crisp and Breathe won't have their flashes, especially the Gragas is pretty substantial, because you can use that for, like, a big engage combo. But the important thing in my mind that I'm kind of worried about is something I mentioned earlier about vision is vital for poke champions. And BLG, because they're so strong, are undoubtedly going to have control of the area and vision control, and that is what I'm a little bit worried about, because what BLG will look to do, control the area, and if RA approach too slowly, they'll just start the dragon. And if they secure the dragon, you're in a really rough spot. Even if you get enough poke down, they'll just run away and be like, we got what we wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, though, because of that play in the top side, you should not have a flash on Gragas or the Tahm Kench before this minute 30 mark happens. As we see Breathe now, again, a little bit of trouble, but that Everfrost keeping him nicely separated from Strive. And BLG, they've looked good. They've honestly looked, you know, since game 1, which was very much RA putting them to the sword. BLG have looked consistent, confident, and really putting themselves forward to say, look, we're not just here for round 1. We're going to maybe try and push ourselves even further, because that's what they needed if they wanted to try and go up against the likes of WeiWei, top esports. And then we haven't even talked about, you know, the likes of JDG and LNG and stuff, where, you know, it just gets harder and harder. And for BLG, it's a good start.
Absolutely, but here is the position where they can look to close it out. A team fight win here, a dragon secure would make all the difference. They have got control of the area, and they're trying to keep that vision in place. But it's iBoy and Cube. What poke can they land?
There we go. Bit of poke there onto Breathe, as he does get a shield out. Tries to keep himself relatively safe. I will say those Ws will do damage, and we start to move forward towards 30 seconds till the dragon.
Now the big thing is if iBoy misses a single W, it goes on that long cooldown, and it is all about this poke war, who they can connect on. At the moment, Breathe's the only one who's really lost health. No one cares if he gets poked out. The tanks on BLG are doing a good job of soaking, and pressure is building. If BLG get this, it looks so doomed for RA.
There we go. We're going to see a reset coming in. They're going to try and just get on top of Cube, and Cube's been caught out. He has to flash away immediately. It's hit by the Super Mega Death Rocket, as well as the W does not land onto iBoy, and you're running out of tools here. Cube, you're sitting on top of a trinket. You need to back yourself away. And he has got TP, but again, he's going to be late to this party. He doesn't have a lot of great options. He's got that pink ward just on the tri-brush. He's going to have to try and make something happen. Yuyanjia gets hit by the Q. but the trouble bubble of FoFo as he's just throwing out these Qs. Dragon has been started. Leyan knows it's going on. He knows it's happening. WeiWei down to about half HP. They go in for the fight. It's not been taken. It's been secured by BLG. Yuyanjia had to give away his life to try and make this fight work, but you're going up against a Hex Soul. FoFo has been hit. He has to flash away as the trouble bubble is in response. Strive gets deleted from the map, and now iBoy's been jumped on. It's a bit of a tentative fight as FoFo can't go in. There's one more kill going over as Doggo looking to try and get the resets. He will get them as BLG trample RA. Triple kill for FoFo, and the rest of BLG with this soul. Leyan has nowhere to go.
They secure the dragon and they crush the fight. FoFo landing the bubble onto Strive pivotal, and iBoy goes down to the end, tries to do so much but isn't even able to get the ultimate off. Doggo just running him down. BLG, it was a rough game one, but they have bounced back with a 4K gold lead in Soul. They look to be in prime position to finish this one out. Still going to dot the I's and cross the T's, but that fight was massive. And we'll get a look at the replay. The big thing is, yes, WeiWei's a little bit low, but the back line is healthy. Doggo, full HP. FoFo, full HP. The initial engage can't connect with them. And in this moment, Strive, who's been so good this game, looks for the angle, dashes into a bubble. Goes over the wall, but nothing you can do when you get one shot by the Zoe. They lose a lot of power there, and then they start to disengage. And Cube finds a lot of burst here, right? But they don't manage to connect it. iBoy nowhere near as useful at close range. And critically, he doesn't have anyone to ult to there. He doesn't have his passive on because he killed Chris. And so he just ends up going down. And that's one of the problems with this build, right? You are so good at long distance, but you don't have as much power as the hybrid build up close. And iBoy kind of just falls apart.
Yeah, it is just unfortunate for RA. They are running out of options. A 5,000 gold lead. Hex Soul. That is just so good at running your opponents down. You can see just how confident BLG are in the situation. Pure darkness here for RA in their own jungle as we walk up towards the Baron. They can't walk up to this. And it's, as you said, the poke champions, they rely on that vision. They rely on knowing where people are to make something happen. As Leyan is already chunked out, we're going to see Yuyanjia as well, having to pay for the sins of his jungler. Leyan has to stay alive to maybe get some kind of miracle fight around this Baron, but I don't think BLG are going to go for it. I think BLG is going to run up this mid lane and try and just end the game.
Well, I think the minion wave a little bit too weak to go for that one. They'll force it in though, and look at the vision control over here. And with that level of vision control, it is so hard to approach because Zoe exists. Anytime you push forward, you're always concerned, is there a sleepy trouble bubble? Does dodge away from the poke there and actually cracks it in.
Him. That's going to force the Devourer out. They're going to use the onslaught of shadows, and that's going to be Breed going down. So you're in a 4v4. WeiWei trying to use his ultimate to get on top of the carries, but RA are given a respite. Strive, everyone's got to block him. Block this man right now as Zoe goes golden because they would have been taken down by the W. And RA out of nowhere finds an opportunity, and this is where the poke really comes into fruition.
They refuse to give up, and once again, it's Strive. I swear this game, so much of it has come down to him doing his best to make this work. The rookie player moved up from the LGL roster, refusing to give up in this game 40. He's going to come in, can't interrupt that one with a rocket, and they're trying to get position around Baron. It's instrumental they secure some vision now before BLG are up and able to control it. It's about finding those little wards, finding those angles that aren't going to be swept out. The RA showing there is still life.
Oh my lord, you can see the respect being given here by Doggo. Actually goes with the Mom and Mortius. He knows, he realizes it's not Cube, it's not iBoy, it's going to be Strive. If I get caught out by him and they layer in the extra poke damage, that's when I die. So he needs that extra bit of a magic damage shield. They will take away the Scuttlebug as well. Strive may have to use the Spirit Rush here. Yes, he will. And that's going to be a good investment here from Crisp to make sure that that cooldown's not there. But I will say now at level 14 and 27 minutes into the game, it's not as long of a cooldown as it used to be, but still, nonetheless, good win here for BLG.
100%, and they try and layer some poke, but again, WeiWei and Crisp can soak enough, right? Yes, eventually if you land subsequent Ws onto these onto these frontliners, sorry, they will eventually get low enough that it's relevant, but it just takes a bit too many. Like WeiWei, yeah, he's not full HP, but he's not exactly in a bad position.
He's got the W.
And they're just struggling to connect them on a FoFo and Doggo. The ideal scenario is you poke them out enough that they can't join the fight.
Breeds on a flank. Breeds on a flank. He's going to try and make this one work. They think all
Oh,
5
Leyan.
are there. Leyan's going to walk straight in top of him, though, and that's going to be death
Jungler
for
down.
the jungler of Rare Adam, and that's going to be WeiWei splashed as well. But the poke is still significant. I think if RA want to try and get this, they need to get this now. That W landing onto Chris for Doggo could have been huge with the Void Staff finished up finally for iBoy, but now the Baron has been started.
Critically, we have Breeze full HP. He can just body block the poke on this tanky Gragas. RA need to get in quick because he's melting.
It is melting, but they have found themselves an opportunity to get in here. Strive is walking over a ward, will not be hit by the triple bullet of the Paddle Star. You need to go for something here. You need to either walk away or do not commit. You need to go in. They're going to walk away. They cannot go for this fight just yet. They know without Leyan, there's just absolutely no way they can take a fight. So we'll say that they are going to land a lot of poke here, a lot of damage on the Breed, and that's one of your damages down. WeiWei now has to back himself away. The tanks are tanky, but when the rest of their team aren't with them, they'll just turn into paper.
Yeah, you can be tanky. Oh my lord, Chris nearly going down.
Yeah, they have to body block. They have to continuously body block.
And now they're low enough. Look, 25 seconds until the Elder Dragon. Breeze won't be up. They have to rush this, right? BLG have Soul, they have Baron, they have the gold lead. But if RA get Elder, that is hope. They need to start it immediately or get a pick.
You have to do this. You have to go for this, RA. This is your season. There's a Hex Gate coming in. It's WeiWei.
What's he doing?
He's going straight in on top of it. He's going to have to use his ultimate, and he's already outside of the Baron pit, or excuse me, the Dragon pit. He's all the way away from this pit, but a bubble lands on the iBoy. That is huge here. They missed the Mega Death Rocket, though, on the back end of this, and they're not able to make it. This is so close right now. Look at Key Summoners.
Breed's up in 2.
You got him in 2 seconds. You will have the TP. Breed's going to come in immediately. There's the onslaught of shadows as Crisp goes down. It's now back to a 4v5. They will not land onto iBoy as the Everfrost is good. WeiWei, though, is in a lot of trouble, but he has the smite to keep him alive. And it was valiant from RA. It was almost what they needed, but they all get taken out one by one. Cube and his jungler, the only ones left alive. And that's going to be BLG looking to try and, honestly, they can end the game. They don't even need Elder.
Yeah, they have Baron buff. They have 4 members up. It's only Cube and Leyan to defend. I don't think they have the damage to go the way, but 10 seconds to Yuyanjia and iBoy shortly after. There's a hope that they respawn in time to defend. BLG are risking a lot by trying for this.
Here we go. We got a couple more minutes left on the Baron buff. They're going to go for the Nexus turret #1. They're going to get it down.
You have to fight!
They have to fight. You have to go for this. This is your season right now. They're trying to wait for iBoy. They will pop down the dredge line and they're trying to get these one
Doggo's ending!
But look at Doggo. Doggo's going for it, and Doggo gets the end. BLG 3-1.
And RA try and hold on at the end of that series. They do their best in the final game, but it's not enough. BLG with a convincing lead, and they just played around those objectives better, blocking the poke and then allowing FoFo to layer his. And it felt like we saw, I'm sure we're going to see the damage graphs, and there'll be a ton of damage from iBoy in that one. But it wasn't meaningful. Yeah. It didn't connect on the right targets, and the goal deficit was too significant. They just opted into these early fights when they didn't have power.
Yeah, and again, it just, what was an identity for RA really hurt them in this particular game. You just had to wait. You just had to calm down. Because even if they're on soul point and you are, 2,000 gold less behind, you know what I mean? You haven't given off all those kills. You probably get 1 or 2 extra kills. You may be able to kind of, force them away from that soul point as quickly. And again, it's if, buts, and maybes, and, it's all just how it kind of all goes down. But congratulations to BLG.
Yep.
They got the bit between their teeth. They took that 1 loss in Game 1 personally, and they said, not again. And they just forced so many pivotal bans from the side of RA, and they made it work.
Yeah, and I feel like the fact that we saw FoFo, on the LeBlanc, spectacular, first off, it still held up really well on the Zoe. So good. We saw WeiWei a lot more proactive than we've seen him traditionally throughout the split. I think that's a big criticism, that he's been not impacting his lanes enough, but he got the Volbiear and was like, no, I'm going to make things happen. If I am passive against RA, we'll be punished. So I think this is a better BLG than we've seen for a lot of the season. Yeah. And sure, opponents are going to get harder as playoffs go on, but this was a convincing first series.
It was, and it's exactly what they needed to do. Again, 8th versus 9th is your closest competitor in terms of people below you, but you made a very distinguished, definition between you and them, and that's a great way to start your playoff run. And like we said, the playoff run is a run in itself. You need to win. If you're starting from the bottom bit, you need to do round 1, round 2, round 3, and then if you win those 3 best of 5s, then in round 4 you get yourself an extra life. So you got to earn a But I feel like BLG are definitely taking the right steps forward here.
100%. And I think that's the thing is that game one, I came into that and I was like, oh, they're sort of going for a more aggressive early game style. Then they didn't play like it. I was like, okay, this could be just doomed. But it feels like the reason for that game one draft was they were trying to have more impact, more agency, particularly from WeiWei. I think did a much better job in setting up plays for his team. There was more coordination. Although we didn't see it in that game one, they weren't able to pull it out. As the series went on, we saw it's like a convincing aspect of gameplay they're leaning into.
Yeah.
And, I feel like as well for RA, as much as I question a lot of decisions, right, there was definitely some things I'm like, what are you doing?
Some question mark spams
Strive,
right there, like.
considering Strive is a rookie, spectacular gameplay so far. Really doing his best to keep his team in it. And it's as we expect. You look at the damage graphs, right? Cube, 27k highest in the game. iBoy, second highest. Yes, they did damage. But that's why with BLG, when they had these tanky members who were so strong, just able to soak it, you couldn't hit Doggo, you couldn't hit FoFo, it couldn't stick.
It couldn't stick, and it didn't matter unless it landed on the
some glue.
It did. You needed glue to be able to make that stuff stick. But again, Doggo on this Jinx, FoFo. I feel like Doggo was just left relatively untouched. We saw Devourers multiple times being used onto Breathe and WeiWei because they were the ones that were soaking up all that damage, but because they had used so much, the charms, the Everfrost, the W's constantly going in, it meant when Doggo finally got into the fight, when FoFo finally got there, it was too little too late, and it just meant that you just hadn't got enough in your tanks to try and take them out. But again, congratulations to BLG and commiserations to RA. I think, again, considering where this